South Africans' long-standing reliance on commissions of inquiry as instruments of accountability is facing renewed criticism amid growing concern that these processes have failed to deliver meaningful justice or structural reform. Legal analyst and senior advocate Muzi Sikhakhane SC argues that commissions of inquiry, while presented as neutral, truth-seeking mechanisms, have increasingly become staged public rituals that divert attention from the country's deeper and unresolved injustices. According to Sikhakhane, these inquiries are often carefully sequenced, with witnesses selected and positioned to advance predetermined narratives rather than uncover objective truth. Recent high-profile moments, including public walkouts and confrontational testimony, have exposed what Sikhakhane describes as entrenched institutional arrogance within South Africa's legal and political systems. He contends that these processes operate within a racialized moral order that remains largely unexamined, where Black individuals are proportionately subjected to public suspicion, humiliation, and moral judgment, while the structural power of whiteness remains largely untouched. Sikhakhane argues that repeated public interrogations condition society to associate Black leadership with corruption and moral failure, reinforcing a hierarchy in which authority and legitimacy are implicitly racialized. He warns that these spectacles shape public consciousness, particularly among young people, normalizing the idea that Black governance is inherently suspect while historical colonial dispossession is sidelined. While commissions are often justified as tools to address corruption and restore public trust, Sikhakhane maintains that they rarely confront the foundational issues driving South Africa's crisis. These include land dispossession, economic concentration, persistent poverty, apartheid spatial geography, and the continued control of key state institutions by entrenched interests. The critique extends to the legal framework governing these inquiries. The Commissions Act of 1947, a colonial-era statute, provides minimal procedural guidance and has not been meaningfully reformed to align with constitutional democracy. As a result, evidence leaders trained in adversarial litigation often adopt prosecutorial postures, pursuing confirmation rather than exploration of truth. This, Sikhakhane says, fosters confirmation bias and undermines the integrity of the process. He points to past inquiries, including the Zondo Commission, where early witnesses were treated as authoritative, while later contradictory evidence struggled to gain equal weight. According to Sikhakhane, this structure transforms commissions into legal thrillers that entertain and pacify the public without dismantling the systems that perpetuate inequality and corruption. Sikhakhane further argues that South Africa's post-apartheid leadership, from Nelson Mandela through successive administrations, failed to exercise the ideological courage required to dismantle colonial power structures. While acknowledging Mandela's moral stature, he describes the reconciliation-first approach as a missed historical opportunity that constrained deeper structural transformation. At the heart of the critique is a broader moral and spiritual crisis. Sikhakhane contends that South Africa's legal culture remains anchored in colonial epistemology, treating law as neutral while it continues to function as an instrument of power. Media coverage and public discourse, he says, often reduce complex systemic failures into binary narratives of heroes and villains, discouraging critical engagement. Rather than resolving crises, commissions of inquiry, according to Sikhakhane, serve as mechanisms of postponement, creating the appearance of action while leaving intact the architecture of inequality. Corruption is exposed, but structural injustice remains untouched. He calls for the replacement of the Commissions Act with legislation rooted in a decolonial moral vision alongside broader reforms of the state, economy, legal system, and democratic institutions. Without such transformations, Sikhakhane warns, South Africa risks continued moral degradation, deepening inequality, and social instability. As public faith in accountability mechanisms continues to erode, the debate raises a critical question. Can commissions of inquiry deliver justice in a society that has yet to confront its moral and historical foundations, or have they become instruments of delay in a democracy still grappling with its unfinished liberation?